You know, I've been a Christian for a long time. At least I thought I was, and what I found out was I was more of a Sunday Christian than I was an everyday Christian. And what had to happen was a series of events that really took me to a higher plane in my faith. I had a number of things that were going on in my life simultaneously. I had always been very much into my profession. I did safety and emergency preparedness, and they were hot topics, and I was kind of at the top of my game, and I was really into it. And it took a lot of my time and a lot of my attention, and I thought I could do it all. I was constantly uh, meeting with legislators and giving speeches and things like that. And things were going good, very good for me. But later on, I started to realize that there were some problems in my life. I had children, uh, a grandchild and a child. They were both in their teens, living with us here, and they were cutting up a little bit, acting out in some cases. And that goes on in every family, so that wasn't anything unique. The other thing was at my job, I had started at a time before computers, and I just couldn't grasp computers as fast as other people. I didn't know how to type, so I had to type with one finger. And it was just a little difficult for me to be able to adjust to that whole thing. So I had to struggle through that. And of course, there were cutbacks at the office, and more things were added to my schedule every day. So it got to be pretty tough at work. And I had a boss who was very disagreeable to me, and maybe some of it was because of my inability to keep up with the technology. But we had a tough time, he and I, and I was resisting a little bit. And I thought, well, I know how to do my job, and why are you telling me that? So I wasn't being obedient to my supervisor. But the thing that kind of topped it off was I had a neighbor that was really giving us fits here, and he was uh, a heroin addict. We found out later, and he had a lot of problems in his life. Obviously, he lost his job, he lost his girlfriend, and he was just sitting around his house, and he was making a lot of trouble. You know, there would be times when he would just in the middle of the night set off fireworks, and he actually, we believe, was breaking into our house a number of times, and we found things damaged in our house. We found a bullet hole in uh, one of the cabinets we had, and we found things on our porch that were not too nice. So he was driving everybody crazy, and it wasn't just me. I had another neighbor down the block who he, somebody had broken into his house, and he ended up leaving. He just packed up and moved out, sold his house. So between those three things, it was driving me nuts. And so, when you have a crisis in your life, you do turn to prayer. But what I was doing was I was praying, but I really wasn't trusting. And I would pray, and they were very sincere and fervent prayers, but they weren't uh, believable to God, I think. He knew I was struggling, but he realized I wasn't totally in trust, because I would just leave that situation and I would say, okay, now I'm going to fix the problem. And it was always and so this just went on and on. And there was a time when I was so stressed out that I turned totally red, and I didn't know what was going on in my body. And I checked myself into the emergency room. I mean, that's how bad it was. So it was a real crisis, and I was getting broken. And later on, I realized that might have been part of God's plan, was to have me broken, to make me realize that I couldn't do it myself. I needed his help. I needed to trust him. I was sitting in my office one day, and there was a janitor, and he was from Ecuador, and he actually he was a real estate man in New York City, and was doing very, very well. But he encountered the recession of 2008 and lost his job, and he went downhill, and his marriage went downhill, and he found Christ. So he was starting all over again from the bottom, and he was a janitor in our office. And so we got to be friends, and we started talking. And one day he said to me, "Do you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ?" And it floored me. I didn't know what he was talking about. And I'd been in church, and I'd heard this before from the pulpit, a priest saying that, other ministers saying that. It didn't get through to me, So I said, he could see I was astonished. So I really didn't say much of anything, but it led me to a lot of thought, and he prayed with me, and I started to turn things around. And all of a sudden, the anger and the pride and the other things that were preventing me from, seeking a higher level in my life it was a time, to get back to where things should be, in my life. And so I started to pray, and I started to trust, and I started to let go. I was tired of trying to solve my own problems. I said, "Okay, Lord, take it from me. Take these burdens from me." And I just would put them aside, and I'd say, "Okay, I am not going to deal with it anymore." And I surrendered. The surrendering was what I really needed to do. So then things started to get better for me. I started to feel some peace in my life for the first time. And I mean, for a long time in my life, I thought I could solve all my own problems. I thought I could do it all. But we can't do it all. We need Jesus Christ. We need God's help. And he wants us to ask him. So I started to change, and at work I started to be a little more compliant, and I realized, I'm like a dinosaur. I'm not good at computers, and things are moving on. So, and I was getting into my 60s, so I decided, I'm going to be thinking about retirement, and so I did later on. So that problem was solved. As far as the neighbor was concerned, he ended up losing his home, and not that I, relish and I'm excited about that. I was actually praying for him for the first time, but things have a way of working out, and you have to put it in God's hands, and it doesn't happen overnight, as you know. So that's kind of how things went. And of course, with the teenagers, they grew a little older, and their problems went up and down, and that's the way families are. So things started to straighten out. So basically, I'm putting my trust in Jesus Christ. That's what we need to do, and that's helped me tremendously.
If you like this video and want to see more, hit the like and subscribe. And if you check the bell, you will always get a notification of a new video.